Boulder Dash at Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut has consistently been voted as one of the best wooden coasters in the world. I got the chance to ride it for the first time this past summer. I got a handful of rides on it in the front, back, middle, all over the place, so I like to think that I got a pretty good feel for the ride. So this is going to be my official review, talking about all the different aspects, what I liked, what I didn't like, and general thoughts. The one thing that really stood out to me with this ride is just how much it uses the terrain. This is one of the craziest terrain coasters I have seen because it literally goes up a mountain, back down, crosses along the side of the mountain, and then ends at the base of the mountain. It is crazy. You feel like you're right up against the ground the entire time, so in a way, you feel like you're going a lot faster than you actually are. That being said though, you still reach a max speed of 60 miles per hour. So you're flying. To my knowledge, an exact height on the coaster hasn't been announced, but it has a drop of 115 feet. What's amazing is that the lift hill goes up this mountain, so you're like right up against the ground the entire time, but there isn't much of the drop. You pretty much build up a lot of this speed throughout the ride as you go among all of these different airtime hills. And that's really all this ride is. It's a bunch of airtime hills. And this does have the PTC trains, so that means that if you work your lap bar a certain way, you can get more airtime depending if it isn't as high up. The downside is if you do have your lap bar higher up during the ride, what can happen is because of the forces of the rides, those positive G's will actually send your lap bar down a few clicks. So towards the end of the ride, it's a little bit harder to get airtime. I found that if you just hold your lap bar at that certain position, don't do hands in the air or whatever, just hold your lap bar at that set spot, it makes it so that you can actually get more airtime throughout the ride experience. Now, unfortunately, one general complaint with this ride is that it tends to be a bit on the rougher side in certain spots, and I definitely could feel that. In the front, it's going to be smoother than in the back. There were a few moments in the ride where, yeah, it does get a little jittery. The smoothest part by far is where they retracted. They turned a triple up into a double up, and that was very good. That got some great airtime. And like I said earlier, that was the smoothest part of the ride. So I think there are some moments on this ride that definitely would benefit from some retracking. We don't need to reprofile it or whatever. I never got to ride it before they reprofiled and got rid of that triple up, so I don't really know how good it was or if it's that big of an improvement. This is such an airtime driven coaster that if you like coming up out of your seat, this ride is perfect for you because you go fast, you got ejector airtime, even some floater airtime, and you're just twisting your way through the trees. You are flying past this stuff. It's amazing. I mean, so much of this ride you can't even get footage of just because of how much it's built into nature. This ride really is a work of art. I can understand why people like it so much. I mean, that being said, it definitely isn't my favorite wooden coaster. It is one of my favorites, but there's some Intamins or RMCs that I'd put above it. But when you look at roller coasters by CCI, Custom Coasters International, who built this is probably the best ride that they've done. I haven't done Shivering Timbers yet, but even that I don't think would be quite as good as what Boulder Dash does. There's some incredible terrain coasters out there, but I think when you look at them, this is probably one of the best terrain coasters in the world in terms of like how they use the land to their advantage. This ride would not work on flat ground. So if you just look at it from an architecture standpoint, like it is crazy. So to just kind of wrap things up, what is my final score for Boulder Dash? I'm going to give it a 9.5. The reason why I took off half a point is because, like I said, there were some parts that were a tad rough. But the reason why that isn't as big of a deal is because you can fix that. That is an easy fix. You just got to retrack it. So you retrack those sections of the ride, and I think then it would be worthy of a 10. But in terms of layout, ride length, all that, yeah, it is great. There's some really good airtime on this ride. Now, unfortunately, I don't remember getting airtime on every single hill. There was a few hills that I thought should have given some good airtime but didn't. So that was kind of unfortunate, but in the long run, most elements give airtime when they're supposed to. And that is why if you're a fan of coming up out of your seat, you're going to love this thing. So let me know what you think of Boulder Dash in Bristol, Connecticut at Lake Compounce. Post all those thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, stay tuned for more coaster reviews. I have lots more coming. They're all available in a playlist in alphabetical order, so make sure to check those out, and I'll catch you guys later.